Hey guys, Lenny, Dynomite Diesel Products. So it's kind of dark. The guys are getting ready to leave here pretty soon. The reason why I wanted it to be dark is so you can actually see that screen. And as I explain things to you, you can watch along on the screen. Take a look at some of the things that we stare at all day long, day in and day out, and hopefully get you some education, start to clear up some air, and make better decisions on buying parts. So first thing I want to talk about is blank nozzles, why we order them and why they're so important to you, the customer. A blank shows up to us with 0 holes in it whatsoever. So we don't have to try and EDM or chase somebody else's pre-existing holes. If we need to do custom angles, we do that with a blank slate. We're not trying to chase somebody else's hole. We're not interfering with holes. If you want a 7-hole count or a 6-hole count or a 5-hole count, we can do whatever you want. So if you've got a custom piston application, you need it to be a very specific angle, then that's not a problem anymore. We can cut it to whatever angle it is based on your nozzle protrusion through the cylinder head, piston protrusion, and bowl design. Example, we're just recently, actually probably Monday, we're going to build a set of LB7 nozzles out of blanks, and we're going to be doing that for that oval bowl piston. There's a lot of guys using that oval bowl. Apparently it's a bit more durable than the factory style piston. But there's no nozzle out there right now available that's custom to fit that bowl. So on Monday, we're going to start working on that. Now, with the mechanical injectors, I'm going to talk about like your earlier Dodges. So all the VE pump, all the P pump, and all of the VP44 style pumps. Those nozzles, they didn't need DLC coated needle valves. They've never had them from the OEM. The injection pressures are really low and the operating temperature in the injector is pretty low. But what I've seen happen with some of our testing is when we add DLC coating to the needle valves in certain spots on the needle valve, we can enhance or slow down the nozzle response time. So when the solenoid is excited and told to go ahead and fire, there is a delay time in the injector. We can change that delay time just by adding or subtracting DLC coating. So since the DLC coating is really good, very robust, it's also very slick. I figured that with emissions coming stronger, everybody trying to make as much power as they can, all these different things are coming into play, and since we've got so many cool tools here in the States now that we can do so much cool stuff, we would add DLC coating to the needle valve. So as you'll see right here, that's the back side of the needle valve. This is just my tool that I've got the needle valve stuffed up against. This is the part that throws into the intermediate plate that's spring loaded. And then as you can see the whole way down, this needle valve is DLC coated the entire way. That would be the shoulder that rides inside the nozzle. 100% DLC coated. DLC stands for diamond-like coatings. It's very, very thin. It's very, very hard. Takes temperature extremely well. And probably most importantly in these applications is it makes things slicker. It's almost like Teflon inside of a pan. So with the needle valve, when it comes into closure, it's slamming back in there. When it slams inside the nozzle, it deforms the face of the needle valve and the inside of the nozzle over time. You just see that change shape. With what we've got going here, the needle valves are going to live a lot longer life. When the pump is excited and it chatters the delivery valve and then the line is charged, the nozzle is going to be able to rattle and chatter earlier. Basically it's going to be a more stable and more accurate injection event with just an overall better needle valve design, period. So really cool, very excited for all the rotary pumps, all the P pumps, and the VP44 stuff. A lot of guys are getting really good power out of those VP44s, but it's just that it's the expense of smoke. And the reason why I don't like the smoke is because it ruins the drivability. When you've got holes that are so bloody big that it's spraying enough quantity to make the desired amount of fuel in the big end, unfortunately those holes are so bloody big, they don't atomize at lower pressures. So with a common rail, you can adjust pressure using EFI Live or the ECM. You can just tune it and get it right. With mechanically injected stuff at idle, you're going to open 270 bar, 245 bar in a rotary pump, 240 bar in a rotary pump. And as you stand on the gas pedal, that line pressure will exceed the opening pressure by about 10-fold. So, and if you go too much further than that, you end up hurting lines and hurting plungers inside pumps. So the pressure on a mechanically injected system is just a lower pressure. It requires a bigger hole to get you the overall quantity. And in the past, people have always done things off of just bigger, bigger, bigger holes. That doesn't necessarily dictate, that's not the only dictating factor to flow. K factor is critical. We've been using extrude hone media for 19 years, and we've honed a lot of parts. And the latest, greatest technology to hit the planet is now Abrasive Flow Machine, which isn't a brand new service. It's 15 years old itself. But the OEMs were basically the only people at this point that have really been using AFM. We're now to a point where we needed to speed up the process and we needed to get things even tighter. We've always been as accurate as 1 liter per minute. With the new software that's in the AFM machine, it also, as it's running the nozzle and as it's increasing, if I throw a nozzle in there at say 37 liters a minute and I want to bump it up to, let's say I start at 35 liters a minute and I want to bump it up 30%, I'm going to shoot for 45.5 liters per minute. In the past, we couldn't really do that. It was 45 or 46. Now, if I want it to be 45 liters per minute, I can put 45.5 liters per minute. I can put 45.4, 45.3. We could put 45.15, 45.25. The new flow meter is built into the AFM machine. So as it's extrude honing the nozzle, it's abrasive flow machining it. It's kind of one and the same, but the medias are very different. It's also measuring the overall flow rate of that nozzle. And as soon as it gets within 1% of the desired set point, the machine automatically shuts off. It removes all the humid air out of it, and the accuracy and the repeatability is just much more like a CNC type situation. So since we're doing enough nozzles in batches, this thing's just paying off quite well. The end result means the K factor, extrude hone media in a way of explaining it is a lot like children's Play-Doh or children's silly putty. It's kind of a thick consistency. We had anywhere from 400 grit to 600 grit to 800 grit to 1000 grit, but it was always in that really thick that thick Play-Doh type putty. Getting it through some of these smaller holes these days is just not very easy. With the new AFM abrasive flow machine, it's much more, it's basically the same consistency of water. And again, we can use whatever grit we want mixed into that. We're currently really happy with the stuff that we chose. That's kind of classified, but I'm very excited about the way it's working because it's cutting fast enough for us. We're not trying to build 7,000 parts a day, but it's cutting plenty fast enough for us. The K factor of these holes is glorious. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And the holes are proving to be about 20% and more efficient in overall flow of diesel. So what's that mean? Basically, this is the bin that we keep all of the wires in from 3,000ths up to 7,000ths. And in this bin, I've got 20 tubes, 20 different sizes. So example is gonna be, I got 3,000ths, I got 3,000ths with a tenth, I got 3,000ths with 2/10, 3,000ths with 3/10. We've got 20 different sizes going from 3,000ths up to 7,000ths. And then we've got other bins of wire behind me all the way up to, well, 50,000ths. So we've got plenty of the actual EDM wire to choose from. Why is that so important? Well, the other day, I wanted to do a little test with some 6-hole nozzles on a VCO platform for Cummins 325 horse motors. And the first thing we chose was a 5 thou wire. The overburn gave us about a 6.2 hole. They were too big. By the time we threw any AFM through them, any abrasive flow machine, they were already pumping more than we needed. We were shooting for like our 50 or 90 horsepower recipe. So we dropped down to a 4 thou 3/10 wire, honed it very, very lightly, got it to where it pumped the proper CCs in the test stand to make our 90 horse, but we couldn't get them to pump with any K factor anyway. We couldn't get them to pump with our 50s. So then I went 3/10 of a thousandth smaller. So I went down to a 4 thou, so 0.0040. That hole was very nice, very clean, very small. With abrasive flow shoved through it, I easily got 50s out of it, but I couldn't get them to pump as much as our 90s. So then we went up to a 0042 wire. It ended up being the sweetheart. So having all those different wire diameters available and having the abrasive flow machine, it's 6 feet from me right now. Having these tools this close right now, we can science things to death, come up with recipes that really, really work quite well. One of the tricks that we've learned so far is basically when we get done burning a hole, if it's, let's just say that it's about a 14 thou hole initially after EDM, to get proper K factor in there, we're going to need to be at least 16.8 to 18.2 to get proper K factor. I know that it's about a 20 to 30% lift of the nozzle flow rate to get proper K factor in there. What's that all mean to you? Basically, that means that we're using all these brand new fancy tools to try and get you the absolute best product on the planet. So all of our recipes that we've had, I believe in them quite well, but those recipes and everything else that goes behind the scenes here at this company, it's constantly changing, and we're not very good about like bringing you constant, steady results as we're doing them. So I feel like by the time I get in front of a camera, I'm flooding you with way too much information. The videos get way too long. Nobody wants to pay attention. Nobody can follow along. So in the short and sweet of it, DLC coating, pretty much the planet. We're going to throw DLC coating on basically every needle valve that we can have manufactured from here on out, because I believe that it's going to make the part, even if it's just slightly better, still going to make it slightly better. Doesn't cost us a lot because we have to have thousands of needle valves done at once. They get fitted to the nozzle after they get DLC coated. So we're constantly testing all these things in drive applications, and we've got a 4-load cell Dynocom dyno coming here pretty soon. And when that dyno shows up, you're going to see more of these videos of us testing these things on the dyno, not just for horsepower and torque, but we're also going to be doing actual tests with gas and opacity, so you can see how much real research goes into what you're driving. I'm just going to end this right now. I hope that this helps get you kind of caught up to what we're up to. There's a lot more to talk about, but again, I don't want to kill this video and make it too long. Please hit like and subscribe, and follow along, and we'll be out here hopefully in the next week giving you something new. Catch you later.